Hi survivors and thrivers, I'm back with another video, and today we're going to talk about something that is very near and dear to my heart, and that is Black women getting paid. We're going to talk about salary negotiation, and I'm going to discuss a few things that have worked for me over the years, having worked in the nonprofit industry for almost all of my career. And you know, no guarantees. Again, just sharing some things that have worked for me, and hopefully they will benefit you. So if you're interested in getting your paper up, getting your cheddar, getting your moolah, stay tuned. That was a bit extra. But I mean, when it comes to money, we should be extra. We should be real extra about getting paid, because you deserve it at the end of the day. You do. So this number one tip on salary negotiation is going to be the most crucial component of salary negotiation. Nothing else matters if you don't do this part of it. And that is do it, do it, do it, do it. You know, do it. Like, actually negotiate. So much money gets left on the table because people never even ask for more. And certainly there are conversations about who's been socialized to believe they can ask for more, who's been socialized to believe that they're worth more, who receives negative and positive reinforcement when they do ask for more. But don't let any of that stop you from doing so. You know, in an organization that really has equity, there will be transparency. Ideally, there's a salary scale, so everybody knows exactly where they fit. For an organization that does not have that, ask for your money, because if you don't, they're certainly not gonna just voluntarily give you more. So the number one tip on salary negotiation is to actually negotiate. And yes, it can be a little daunting, it can be a little nerve-wracking, so the rest of these tips hopefully will help you out with that part. Next tip on salary negotiation is that salary negotiation actually starts before you even have the interview, right? And that's going to require doing your research long before you get to that part. Certainly, sometimes we need a job, and we need a job quick. So it can be really tempting to just apply for a lot of different things without researching each particular organization. I believe that you save a lot more time in the long run if you research and apply to places, one, that can even meet your salary needs, right? It doesn't even make sense to be applying to XYZ organization when, you know, the starting range for a position is $10,000, $15,000 lower than what your minimum range is, right? So save yourself time, save organizations time, and really do your research. Ideally, the company has posted the salary range. That is what should happen, right? Organizations that don't post salary ranges are absolutely perpetuating inequity. Like, organizations should be posting salary range. And I really side-eye any organization that in 2021 is not posting a salary range. So that's the first part, but some don't do that. And if you're going to apply to a job that doesn't have it, then you need to do your research. You can check Glassdoor for salary information. Sometimes it's there. You can check if you are looking at an organization, a nonprofit, you can check their 990s. 990s won't tell you what everybody makes, but a 990 will typically tell you what the highest paid individuals at the organization makes, and then you can just kind of extrapolate from there. So if you know that the CEO is making 150, then you probably can't go in there asking for 175, right? So like, you have an idea, and you can kind of, like, you know, do some guesstimating to see what the range is for your given position. So do the research beforehand, know what the salary range is, know what, you know, other people are being paid at the organization, talk to folks you know who might work there, reach out to people. Again, you can check Glassdoor, salary ranges are there sometimes. You can check GuideStar for 990s, and there are other methods that you can use to research salary and all that stuff. I won't go into too much detail there, but that is to say, check it out, do your research. Know before you even get to the interview process what the potential is for that organization to pay you. Next tip is, a lot of jobs are going to ask you for a salary requirement, right? Now, in an ideal world, they already told you the salary range, so everybody's on the same page. You told me that you're willing to pay between $100,000 and $150,000. Well, that range is too big. It cannot be, but I usually like ranges that big. You've told me that you're willing to pay between $50,000 and $65,000, right, for that position's range. Now, I know that my salary range is somewhere in between there. Boom, we good to go, right? As opposed to, you know good and well that you've posted a position that you're willing to pay $100,000 for, and then y'all out here, essentially trying to get the lowest bidder, right? Like, no. Ideally, they've told you what the range is. If they don't, and you have to give them one, then you have one of two choices. You can leave that information out. I've done that. I have, put in applications for positions, and I've just not put that information in unless it's, a required, like if you're filling out one of those the forms they also have, as opposed to just submitting a resume, like they'll have it might be required. And I make decisions about whether I even want to apply in that instance. I do, like, I make decisions. And you'll make decisions too. And so you can either leave that information out, or you can give a range. And I make sure that when I give a range, that bottom number of the range is not my minimum, right? So that bottom number is not actually the lowest amount you're willing to take. That should be the lowest amount you're willing to be happy with, right? So if your minimum, like, if I take this job, I would take this job for an absolute minimum of $75,000. Like, I know I would do it for $75,000, right? Versus like, what can you live off of, right? So I can live at a minimum of 65, but like 75 would be like where I would like to be. When I give that range is going to be 75 to 85, right? So make the bottom of your range a number that you're actually happy with. And there are going to be instances where you say, like, I'm gonna make the bottom of this range like the bare bones of what I need. And again, that's fine. But give a range. And ideally, what the company will do, if they are really interested, is show you that they're really interested by making an offer at the top of your range. So you still end up walking away with not just what would make you like, okay, cool, but like, okay, cool. Instead of like, okay, like this is just gonna really have me still tight. So in situations where you have the ability to give a salary, when you have to give a salary requirement, give a range. Don't just give one number, because you really kind of, pigeonhole yourself in there. Because let's just say you gave a number and you give 67,000, but they were willing to pay 74,000, right? Now you've given 67, they might give you 67, as opposed to you giving, 65 to 75 and them giving you somewhere along those lines. So next. Review the benefits that are listed. So at this stage, you probably don't have all of the detailed benefits information. Again, you can check other places like Glassdoor and, talking to other people who have worked there, but you might not have you might not have the minute details, right? So just take a look, right? Paid leave, paid sick time, what type of wellness benefits are offered. So really pay attention to that, because all of that is going to also factor into not just your ultimate salary package, but into the way that you negotiate. So make sure that you take a look at the benefits that are available to see what they're offering. It's important to remember that when you're negotiating, you're not just negotiating for this job, right? You are negotiating future salary potential, because it matters, right? Because ideally, organizations are not asking you about your prior salary history, because really it has nothing to do with this role, what it takes to do this role, and what you've budgeted to pay this role. But they do ask, and there is, a culture in the United States whereby like people feel like they, just have to build upon what you were paid last, as opposed to what if we value this work at, and what expertise does this person bring to the table. So because of how it works here, you're really building on the next one. So if you ask for, let's say, $80,000, right, for this gig, then you leave that gig in whatever time period, And the next gig does ask you for a salary history, right? Like they're going to be building on what you were making then, versus if you had 90K at this gig and the next gig is building on that, well, you see, like you're making more. So you want to really think about negotiating as not just about this job right now at this time, but also about how this is going to impact my earning potential as I move on later. Okay, next tip is don't be pulling numbers out your ass. Like, don't just make stuff up. Have some data and information on why you are, why you have the range that you have, right? That should certainly be built around the labor required for the position. It should be built around the expertise that you bring to that position. It should be built around the cost of living. Certainly the money that you ask for in DC is going to be different from the money that you ask for in Iowa, right? And so really have all of that information, have it gathered somewhere, be that in your head or like actually writing it down somewhere. But just have some backup, data for why that number or those numbers are the numbers that you deserve, right? Now, I've never been like asked to back up a negotiation or a counter offer at all. But if necessary, then like I was prepared to do that. And for me, quite frankly, it all came down to my expertise, right? Like I am successful with doing X, Y, Z. And so that is why you should give me what I'm asking for. And some of it, is also based around like other things like cost of living. But again, mostly built around what the position entailed and what expertise I bring to that position. So don't just pull numbers out your ass and be like, give me $150,000 because my feetage. I mean, you can try that. And if it works, then kudos. Let me know where you're working at. But, just have some information and know why you're asking for the number that you're asking for. Another thing is don't assume that an organization has pay equity across the board just because equity is part of their mission. Now, you might think that if this organization is all about the people and all about power to the people, that they gonna pay me equitably. You know what I'm saying? But that's not the truth. Actually, one of the first times that I realized that, this is before I had really learned the art of negotiating every time negotiation was a possibility. Worked at an organization, and not only was like people they mission, but like women was they mission. And started the position, boom, did not negotiate. Didn't negotiate. Needed a job and just, was like still hadn't gotten to that point where I was like, no, I'm gonna negotiate. Took the job. Not too long after, I found out that a white woman in same level position was making $15,000 more than me. No doubt that a couple of things occurred, but whatever occurred, I didn't even ask for more money in that instance. I learned my lesson, and never, ever, ever again did I get got because I didn't ask. So don't assume that because an organization claims to be about equity, that they have equity within their pay, their compensation across the organization. So don't make that mistake. So backtracking a little bit, one thing that I do when an organization asks for a salary requirement or my salary requirements, flip that shit. I ask them was they budgeted for the position, right? So here's the deal. That organization has a lot better of an understanding of what exactly that position, those duties entail day to day. Because they've either had someone in that position before or they crafted the job description. And keep in mind, the job description doesn't tell you everything. And so they have the best idea of the value of that work. So why don't you tell me what you budgeted for the position? And certainly, you ain't gotta say it like that. But just flip it and ask what they have budgeted for the position. And you can even frame it that way, right? Well, given that you all have a much better understanding of what the position entails, it would be great if you could talk to me about what you've budgeted for this position. Now, I've seen organizations do a lot of funny stuff. For me, it is a sign of whether that's a place that I want to work. If I ask for the what they budgeted for the position and they don't want to give me that information, well, that factors into whether I think that's a place I want to work. There should be some transparency. If you expect me to answer my salary requirements, surely you are open to telling me what you budgeted for this position. Otherwise, maybe we're not a good fit. So remember everything I said about having data to back up like why you're asking for what you're asking for? 9 3/4 times out of 10, I have not even needed that information. My approach is to keep it simple, right? So you get the call from the organization, they are making an offer, and I do a couple of things, right? So the first thing that I do is I counter with some excitement, right? Because ideally you are excited about potentially joining the team. And so you just say that, like, thank you so much for the offer. I'm really excited about the possibility of joining you and the team. Would you be willing to meet me at? And then I give my number. Like, I don't even go into none of the stuff. I just say, would you be willing to meet me at? Boom. Like, kiss. It don't get no simpler than that. So that's one approach that I use, right? Another approach is that you could say, well, given the market rate, given my level of expertise, given, the cost of living, and I know a lot of people say that like cost of living shouldn't apply, but like it should. Again, people, what they're paying you in DC should not be what they're paying you in, a small town in Georgia. And that is the case for a lot of large nationwide organizations. They're paying their people the same across geographic regions, and that makes no sense at all. Like legit, when I moved from Illinois to the DMV area, there were organizations that I had, was looking at that were in both places. Salaries was the same. Madness, mayhem, all the foolishness. So anyway, you can just keep it simple, make your counter, and let them, go with that. They might say, well, we have a pay scale, and as a result, everybody falls into XYZ category. Based on your years of experience, I can tell you that you would fall here, right? Or they could say, we don't do negotiations, in which case this next thing I'm gonna say should factor in. Or they could say, let me talk to the folks I need to talk to. Or if they have the authority to make that decision, they could say yay or nay right then. Most often what happens is they go back, talk to their people, and then come back. I can tell you this. Every time I have negotiated, I have gotten more money. Every time. Every time. And I'm trying to think about when I didn't get what I asked for. I think one time there was like a smidge that I didn't get, and they said like because of equity reasons, like we can't give you more than this number right here, but we can give you more than that first offer. Money, every time I've negotiated, there was always money on the table. There was always some more money on the table. And if I hadn't asked for it, they weren't gonna volunteer it. So ask for your money. Get your money. Get your money. I'm getting carried away because I'm serious, y'all. If y'all don't do nothing else, ask for your money. Yes, it's going to be scary. It's going to be a little nerve-wracking. It's going to be a lot of things, but you get more comfortable. Trust me, you get way more comfortable with asking for your money the more you ask for your money. So please, I need y'all to start. I need y'all to really start if you're not already doing that. The last thing that helps me with salary negotiation is my willingness to walk away. Now, I get that sometimes we are looking for a job because we need a job. Sometimes we are trying to get out of toxic environments, and so, it's a little more pressing. Sometimes we just got bills to pay, right? And we're more vulnerable in that way. So what I'm saying here applies to having the privilege of being able to do so. And I have been privileged enough to have had a job while I was looking for a job in each of my last few, job transitions. I'm also, privileged enough to be able to do contract work to carry me over if I needed to, right? And so I've just always been willing, not always in recent times, because again, the sister done had to feed some kids, and so decisions were made. But in current sort of situations, if you're not willing to pay me what I'm worth, then I'm not going to take the job. So I'm willing to say, no, thank you. Now, a job should never take away an offer because you've countered. And if they do, you don't want to work there. If they are like, oh, you negotiate, we don't want to work with you, you don't want to work there anyway. Trust me, that environment is probably all kinds of toxic. So you're not going to be penalized by any organization worth their, worth working for them. So you really don't hurt anything, right? And depending on the position, like negotiation is always a skill that they should want you to have, whether it's a skill that you can utilize because they have a salary scale or not. That should be something that people value, especially with women and specifically with Black women and women of color, right? Well, specifically with Black and brown women, right? Like they should value that, and they should want to make sure that you're getting your money. So don't be scared to do it. Don't be scared to negotiate. Like if you need to be scared to walk away from an offer, then like, again, consider your life circumstances and situations, and factor all of that in. But don't be scared to ask for your money. Don't be. Oh, this is important. So I talked about like reviewing the, the general benefits details before you even start the application interview process. But when an offer is made, take your entire package into consideration. Entire package. So when the offer is made, at whatever stage that it's made, ask for the benefits breakdowns. And I'm not talking about just the list of what they offer. I'm talking, what are the options for health plans? What portion are you responsible for? How much of your dependents premium do they cover? How is there a transportation benefit? Is there a cell phone benefit? Is there a wellness benefit? What do vacation days look like? All of those things factor in your package. And many of them you can negotiate. You can negotiate for more days off. You can negotiate for teleworking, part of the time. You can there are so many things that you can negotiate outside of salary. So not just salary, but yes, get your money. But also think about all of the other things that you can also negotiate, because at the end of the day, we all need money. We also need sanity. And some of those other things can go a long way towards helping you maintain sanity in anybody's job, right? If you know that you have, enough paid leave and paid sick time to take care of yourself and your family, that's a load off, like, that you really want to have. If you know that, maybe just being in the office 3 days a week is ideal for you, and you can negotiate that, right? So there are so many other sorts of things that give you peace of mind and peace that you can also negotiate for. So take a look at the entire benefits package, factor it all together, because job offer A that gives you, let's say, $10,000 more in salary than job offer B, but job offer B is covering your entire insurance premium, and that comes out to $25,000 a year. Well, you can take that extra cash, but know that it's going to cost you on the premium side, and vice versa. So look at the entire package and really know what you're measuring, these offers against when you're weighing multiple offers. And yeah, we speak in multiple offers into your life. Yes, we are, because you deserve that too. So yeah, a lot of people, don't really pay attention to it. I can't tell you the number of times I'm talking to somebody, I'm like, oh, what's the benefits package look like? And they're like, oh, they got health insurance. And I'm like, no. What does the package look like? All of it. So really factor all of those things into your negotiation and whether you ultimately accept an offer. So those are my few tips on salary negotiation. And if you don't take anything else away from this video, I hope that you take the first thing away that I said, and that is to actually negotiate. Get comfortable doing it. Practice with some friends if you want to practice with some friends. But just get comfortable doing it. However that, works out for you, just make sure that you're doing it. So I hope these tips help y'all, and I hope that you are successful getting the money that you deserve. And most certainly with being able to sit in your worth and knowing that, and, here's to being able to demand that. So as always, thank y'all so much for joining me. I hope that you have a positive, peaceful, and productive day. And remember, if you only get to choose 2 of those, Go with positive and peaceful. Bye, survivors and thrivers.